İyi bir komşu, birlikte kahve içtiğiniz birisi midir? Değerli konuklar, hepiniz 15. İstanbul Bienali'nin basın toplantısına hoş geldiniz. Sizleri aramızda gördüğümüz için çok mutluyuz. Önümüzdeki sene 16 Eylül 12 Kasım 2017 tarihlerinde gerçekleştirilecek 15. İstanbul Bienali'nin küratörlüğünü bildiğiniz gibi çarpıcı işleriyle tanınan dünyaca ünlü sanatçı ikilisi Elmgreen ve Dragset üstleniyor. Kendileriyle daha önce 3 kez birlikte çalışma fırsatımız olmuştu. 2001, 2011 ve 2013 senelerinde İstanbul Bienallerine sanatçı olarak davet ettiğimiz Elmgreen ve Dragset'le her seferinde izleyiciyle çok gerçekten çarpıcı bir ilişki kuran işlerini sergileme olasılığımız olmuştu. Bu Bienal'de onlarla küratörlerimiz olarak çalışacak olmaktan dolayı çok mutluyuz ve çok heyecanlıyız. Bu Bienal'in başlığı iyi bir komşu. Bizi hepimiz için çok temel bir ihtiyaç olan barınma, ev, birlikte yaşama, komşuluk, seçilmiş akrabalıklar ve değişen ilişki biçimleri üzerine düşünmeye teşvik ediyor. İyi bir komşu sorusu hepimizin hayatında bir karşılık buluyor ve herkesin sanırım en az bir komşu hikayesi var. Komşuluk meselesi ta derinlerde dilimize ve kültürümüze işlemiş bir konu. Ev alma, komşu al. Komşu komşunun külüne muhtaçtır. Kötü komşu insanı ev sahibi eder ve komşuluk ilişkisi üzerine kurulmuş daha nice atasözümüz var, hatırlarsınız. Komşuluk her anlamda gündelik hayatımızın önemli bir parçası, aynı zamanda akademik ve teorik alanda da evrensel olarak farklı disiplinlerin katkılarıyla tartışılan bir kavram. Ev ve komşuluk, kişisel hayatımızın olağan öğeleri olmanın yanı sıra kavramsal açıdan dünyanın içinden geçtiği siyasal buhranın önemli bir kırılma noktasını da oluşturuyor. Küratörlerimiz Elmgreen ve Dragset konuşmalarında sizlere Bienal'in başlığı ve kavramsal çerçevesiyle ilgili daha detaylı bilgi verecekler. Bu sene hem yerel hem de uluslararası alandaki işbirliklerimizin güçlenerek devam etmesi için çalışmalarımızı sürdürüyoruz. Ayrıca sizlerle ilki 1987'de düzenlenen İstanbul Bienali'nin 2017'de 30. yılına ulaşmasının da mutluluğunu paylaşmak istiyoruz. Bienal'in görsel iletişim tasarımı üzerine çalışan tasarımcı Rupert Smith'in birçok sanatçıyla işbirliği içinde hazırladığı Bienal iletişim kampanyasının ilk örnekleri Mart ayında İstanbul'la eş zamanlı olarak dünyanın farklı şehirlerinde gösterilecek. Bunun için bu şehirlerdeki farklı kültür kurumlarıyla işbirliği içinde çalışıyoruz. Böylelikle iyi bir komşu sorusuyla ilgili evrensel bir platformda süre giden tartışmalara da katkıda bulunmayı ve burada sorduğumuz sorular üzerine dünyanın dört bir yanında düşünülmesini sağlamayı hedefliyoruz. Nisan ayında gerçekleşecek 36. İstanbul Film Festivali'nde yine Bienal'in kavramsal çerçevesiyle konuşan bir seçkinin sunulacağı özel bir Bienal programı yer alacak. Bienal'le eş zamanlı olarak gerçekleşecek bir performans ve kamusal program üzerinde de sanatçı ve akademisyen Zeyno Pekünlü ile birlikte çalışmalarımızı sürdürüyoruz. Sözü Mikael ve Ingar'a bırakmadan önce Bienal'in gerçekleştirilmesine katkıda bulunan tüm kurum ve kişilere, başta da 10 senedir Bienal'e verdiği değerli desteği önümüzdeki 10 senede de sürdürecek olan Koç Holding'e teşekkürlerimi sunmak istiyorum. Teşekkürlerim aynı zamanda basın toplantısının ve Bienal'in gerçekleşmesi için tutkulu bir şekilde çalışan ekiplerimize, burada bizimle araştırma ziyaretleri için bulunan sanatçılarımıza, basın toplantısına eserleriyle katkıda bulunan sanatçı Ali Taptık'a ve bu güzel performansın gerçekleşmesini sağlayan tüm değerli katılımcılarımıza, iyi komşularımıza. Ve en son olarak da değerli basın mensuplarına ve yaptığımız tüm programlara anlam katan izleyicilerimize teşekkür ederek sözü küratörlerimize bırakıyorum.
I'm Michael Elmgreen. I've been working with this guy for more than 20 years.
So I'm Elmgreen Dragset.
We were, of course, quite shocked when we were asked by the Istanbul Bienal if we would take on the job being curators of the next biennial, because we are not professional curators, we are artists. But we know Istanbul quite well, and we know the art scene here, so we were like, okay, if you dare to let us, we will do it. For us as artists, art is not about giving the answers. Art is about asking the questions. And that was why we started the press conference with addressing all these questions by our fantastic performers. The title, A Good Neighbor, is about looking at the small unit in our life, the micro level, our home. Home is a place where we somehow dare to live out our real identity, our specialities, our weird hobbies. We dare to be us at home. And the neighborhood is kind of an example of how we live together, how we manage to have a coexistence in between all the different homes in the neighborhood.
When we started thinking about the conceptual framework for the biennial, it was important for us to, on one hand, continue researching within a territory that we know a little bit about. We have always been interested in how we live together. There's been like sociological, socio-anthropological questions raised in our practice, often informed by architectural entities and urban planning and so on. And we thought maybe in the dialogue with artists, this is something we can, at least have some kind of, what can you say, relevant knowledge about in the dialogues. The other thing that was maybe even more important was to find a theme that everyone has a relationship to, this idea about home and neighborhood. It's something that we all have associations to, even if we're in between homes for voluntary or involuntary reasons. We still have an idea about home as a place maybe where we came from, where we are now, or a home that we envision for the future.
Since we are artists, we are also trying to use our experiences from taking part as artists in multiple biennials. So we have decided to do a biennial that is inviting between 50 and 60 artists, so it will be not a giant biennial. We didn't want to invite more artists than we would have time to have a close relation to, that we could have a real communication with, and therefore we decided for that number, whereas like some of the big biennials are more than 100 artists. But we as artists previously have experienced many times to be invited and then just say hello to the curator and goodbye to the curator, and that was actually that. It's also why we want to make thematics that somehow has a logic balance with what you will experience as an audience in the biennial. So our conceptual aims and ideas correspond closely to what will be displayed, because we as artists also sometimes have experience to be invited to a biennial, and afterward we would still ask each other, what was it actually about?
We're also aiming to keep the locations more or less within walking distance, so the locations become a sort of neighborhood, and also, the artists within the exhibition become neighbors. They create a neighborhood of their own, so to speak, with many different voices. we're not aiming to do sort of zeitgeist exhibitions, which we have seen quite a lot of lately, also within the biennial format. We are looking more to include many different generations, so you get different views on the subject.
There will be very established artists, there will be artists who are no longer among us, and there will be very young and not so experienced artists in the biennial, so it will be quite a personal statement overall.
Was that a question?
And we will, up to the biennial, we will have an additional project together with our graphic designer, Rupert, who will work with different artists on a billboard campaign. And these billboards will appear in different urban spaces, hopefully all over the world. We are now in negotiations with different cities and cultural institutions in European countries and in some Asian countries and Latin America, and hopefully we will see these billboards coming up from around March, April, and then during the biennial, just asking some of the questions that we heard from the performers today.
And of course, this billboard campaign is on one hand like making the biennial and the theme of the biennial more known all over the world, but on the other hand, it's also important for us to talk about many of the issues that seem to be relevant in different countries in the world today. We have just had a year of many different changes and upheavals and shocks everywhere, and I think it's a time to maybe sort of try to understand this in a sort of bigger perspective and make the parallels and try to find a sort of understanding, maybe even if it might be with a completely different language than we normally face in media and politics.
And for us, it's also a way to reach out to a wider audience and the trained art audience that go to the institutions. There's something appearing in the urban landscape that is different from Nike commercials or iPhone commercials, something to stop and wonder about. And it's also a way of using public space in artistic manners in a quite affordable way. It's much more expensive to put up a sculpture.
İsterseniz şimdi sizin sorularınıza geçebiliriz. Sormak istediğiniz soruları alabiliriz.
That's easy.
Peki, hiçbir soru yoksa o zaman fuayede belki...
We already asked a lot of questions today.
Bir saniye, bir soru galiba yukarıda var. There's a question upstairs.
Hello. Can you see me?
Not really, but I mean...
Well, you can hear my voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the press release. I just listened to you now, and like everyone else, I'm being informed about it now. The first thing that came to my mind was the religious references. Speaking of the word neighbor, so are there any connotations exhibitions online which make references to religions, Christianity and Islam, and almost all the religions. Like we have this neighborhood thing, which is the basis is like showing love and tolerance, which is quite a must given the world that we're living right now. So I was just wondering if you had anything in mind about that. Thank you.
Of course, all over the world today we face new challenges in the way that our demographics in the cities have changed. We are more different within our cities than we were before, because there are people coming from other countries. There's also people coming from the countryside. We change neighborhoods, so we have to move from one neighborhood to the other when we can't afford to live in the neighborhood we used to live in. So, of course, beliefs in different ways are also playing a role, and I think that will be part of some of the projects.
It is a subject that has been very much on our mind for the last year, I could say, in relation to another exhibition that opened in Berlin about 3 weeks ago at Gallery König, called The Others. But it's actually partly based on, the perception of people with other beliefs as the others in many Western countries, where it led us to think about, us coming from Scandinavia, which is a very secular and non-religious region, and Berlin that's also kind of like not a very religious city, but at the same time religion has influenced a lot of our lives and the way society is structured and the laws work and so on and so forth. So we decided to basically take this idea of othering and otherness and look back at our own sort of religious backgrounds, so to speak, or the religious background of our societies, and with this idea of otherness, and see how that fares in a way. So it's definitely something we're conscious about and thinking about.
And the Istanbul Bienal is an international biennial, so there will be participants coming from countries with very different beliefs, and they will be put together in our little temporary artificial neighborhood, which will be the biennial, where the artist will have to live side by side for the time of the biennial.
Marie?
So you're stressing that you're artists making a biennial. Do you see this biennial as an artwork by you as well, as a curated exhibition?
No.
Of course, it will reflect our interest in our selection of the artists, but we are not making a Gesamtkunstwerk. We are not making an overall Elmgreen Dragset staging of the biennial. We let the artists make their statements on their own terms. The whole biennial will be a bit like a big neighborhood, as diverse as a neighborhood, where the different artistic projects will be living together in the different venues. But we don't try to force our own working method or world of ideas onto the artist. Of course, we have the position where we came up with the title and the thematics, but these thematics will also change and morph on the way that we experience the different projects. It's not that we try to make a conceptual framework as a strict static container, and then we try to force the different art projects into that. The conceptual framework will also take some detours according to the projects.
And I mean, maybe occasionally we, as artists, we can offer maybe some advice along the way, or some ideas along the way of the visual impact of things, or the visual framing of things, the way things connect. And it's sometimes something that's annoying for institutions as well that we work with as an artist, that we're always involved in all things that has anything to do with communication and visuals within an exhibition. But it's something, of course, that's very close to our hearts.
Europe and Turkey has issues with migrants today, African migrants, Syrian migrants. Will you touch that subject too? Especially, will you have, for example, migrant artists who can express themselves? I don't know, because this is something we have. Around 3 million Syrians have arrived to Turkey, and we are trying to live together. We don't know really how they are feeling, how they are they happy, are they well treated? We are not sure. So will they have a space in the Bienal?
I mean, it would be strange not to speak about the changed demographics when we speak about neighborhoods in our cities today. And migration is like part of that changed demographics, and some of the challenges that we face in this region and in Europe today. So yeah, it will be included.
And this is also part of choosing this title and this subject, is that it's something that can be up close and personal and more poetic, but it also can incorporate some of these larger issues at stake, not only in Turkey, but so many places right now.
But there are so many political challenges in the world today, and the biennial will also give a room for speaking about other things, other identities. It's very important that we as artists, no matter what our backgrounds are, that we also remain having some space for ourselves, our own identities, our own worlds, that we don't have only to relate to the overall sensational news that we are bombarded with in our everyday life. That's an important thing, I think, to remember. I heard from many Turkish artists and curators, art professionals, that they are always firstly asked by international media, what about the situation in Turkey at the moment, blah, blah, which is really dangerous, because suddenly you have to erase your complete own identity, your own deep thoughts about things that are important for you in the world, because something happens politically. Of course it's important to include it, but it's also important to remember who you are.
Where do you stand in the local, international? It's not an argument, but as a statement, your exhibition, would you say it would be an international exhibition that could happen anywhere, or will it stem from the locality of Istanbul? Because there has been in the past different biennials in Istanbul also that has taken different stands. And neighbor concept, I guess, is very culturally important in Turkey, of course. I wanted to know where the idea came from. Does it come from Turkey, stem from Turkey, or where do you stand? Yes. It's for us, we're not living in Turkey, and we have, even though we have been coming here since the year 2000, which is a 16-year period, and we witnessed a lot of the changes. And obviously, when we have shown here before, it's also been artworks have been relating directly to people's daily experiences as well in Turkey. So I think we're like sort of
informed by Turkey and Istanbul, but of course we're not living here, and we're like also part of a community that sort of does travel, live in Berlin. Berlin is international and so on. So I would say it is an international exhibition. We do try to find the parallels. It's not about Istanbul per se, but of course the Turkish artists, as many of them, are dealing more directly with the city itself.
Yeah, for us it's also important, like it's a biennial that takes place in Istanbul, and for the audience in Istanbul, it's also interesting to hear about thematics that have to do with elsewhere in the world. It's not fun just to hear about your own city. I think sometimes being in Berlin, we have experienced exhibitions where people from outside come and they want to tell us what Berlin is. But when you live there, you don't feel it's so relevant because you experience another reality living there in everyday life. So I think it's very important that we have artists who come and tell about what is the situation, what is the artistic discussions elsewhere in the world, and bring it to the art community in Istanbul.
And we will also, of course, have a public program that's maybe more international on the opening weekend and maybe the closing weekend of the biennial. But in between, it will be more based on the local scene and local audience and participation.
Merhabalar. İki tane sorum olacak benim. Bir tanesi billboardların düşüncesi güzel görünmekle birlikte bir gösteriye dönüşme riski olabilir. Bu riskten kaçınmak için sadece grafik tasarım yetecek midir? Ve aynı zamanda Bienal'in geneli için bu gösteri kavramından nasıl kaçınılabilecek bunu merak ediyorum. İkincisi komşulukla ilgili soruların önemini yadsımamakla birlikte aynı komşuluk ilişkilerinin bozulmasına neden olan logolar bulunuyor zaten aynı şekilde. Çünkü bu hidroelektrik santral projelerinden tutun da büyük ölçekli imar faaliyetlerine kadar destek veren firmaların sponsor olduğu bir Bienal noktasında buradaki gerilimi nasıl küratörler ve sanatçılar göğüsleyebilecekler? Bu da merak ettiğim noktalardan biri. Teşekkür ederim.
The billboards, yeah, we have to trust the artist and the graphic designer that it will be something that is very different from normal commercial billboards. So it's really something people will reflect upon when they pass by on their bicycle or walk passing by it. That's always up to an experiment. It's the excitement and the danger of doing art. You don't know how the result will be in the end. And then dilemmas will where we speak about sponsors and sponsors' involvement in environmental issues in relation to neighborhoods. We can only say that we hope that the biennial and artists will be an inspiration for environmental consciousness, and that is our language to try to influence.
Yukarıda bir soru var. Mikrofon var mı?
Merhaba. Bienal'den küratörlerin ya da bu mahalleyi kuracak muhtarların diyelim beklentisi bir uzlaşma kültürünü yaratmak yoksa çatışma kültürünü öğretmek mi?
Consensus and conflict between good and bad. As I started to say, I think artists are here to ask questions, and the audience is there to reflect upon them. Hopefully, that will move some kind of considerations, a consciousness. It will inspire people to work with different ethical questions, but I don't dare really to be the person who will clearly tell you what is right and what is wrong.
Sanırım başka soru yok. Hepinize tekrar geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Görüşmek üzere.